one. Gina Carano gets new lawyer. That's it. We're out of here. Bye.
Yeah. So I'll
let's read a little. Let's read a little bit there.
And first, I want to thank. It was, I think, Jonathan Gillespie on my Patreon that alerted Stephanie Janisek, who's a supporter of this channel, and she alerted me. So there's a chain of people on my Patreon, because this was information that was kind of buried. It really didn't get out there for most people in the fandom. But let's read it. So it was that it appears that Bob Iger still refuses to listen to the pleas from both Jon Favreau and Lucasfilm's internal counsel, which I've been reporting on my Patreon, that they want him to settle with Carano, Favreau, and Lucasfilm's legal office, but he's not listening to them and is instead letting Disney lawyers keep the Gina Carano case in play. And as such, Gina has made a new move. She's added this gentleman, Eugene Volokh, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing his name, Eugene Volokh, who's a First Amendment scholar and attorney to her legal team. He's coming on as essentially just on for this one case to essentially be an advisor to her. I didn't know much about Mr. Volokh, and people on my Patreon apparently were fans of him. I discovered, I didn't know there were actual legal scholars of constitutional law that are in my Patreon, and they came and said, "Oh, you're not familiar. He's a great colleague," and they knew all about him, right? And so apparently he's had a very successful blog, and he's talking about constitutional rights. And so this is a very big deal to have someone of this caliber join her case, who's a specialist on free speech rights.
Polly, I think you're muted.
Okay. No, I'm not muted. I just.
Oh, okay.
He's processing.
Okay.
Why? So why is this? Why are people excited about this? Because his particular expertise.
His specialty, and again, this is someone who's considered one of the great constitutional scholars of the country, right? At least on this particular, the First Amendment, right? And so it suggests that her team really wants to go, if they have to keep pushing this forward all the way to trial, which would be stupid to do it, but if they were pushed forward to go to trial, they want someone who's going to get up there and make the impassioned arguments to the jury about why what happened to Gina is a violation of the founders, the principles of this country, the Bill of Rights. They want somebody who can make that argument, not just from a place of emotion, but from a place of legal scholarship and intelligence. So they're preparing for a trial, I think, with this, right? And I think Disney would be incredibly stupid to let this go to trial. I still personally believe whenever Ms. Kennedy is officially out, they will instantly settle this, because it is not in their interest to have this thing go to trial, even though I think many fans would like that outcome. It is certainly not in any business interest to have this move forward.
Fletcher, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's great if you're going to have somebody who's a constitutional scholar come in and to, bring in kind of like the hot guns or into the case, meaning that they are getting either ready for trial or ready for appeal, So I do think that it's not going away. It looks like they're revving up, so that could be something that should maybe worry Disney, who has some unusual internal dealings recently. So that's not good for them, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this going to be a huge embarrassment for Disney if it goes?
Yes, it will be. It's, I'm sure what they've already found in Discovery is already embarrassing, right? I know because the lesser profile case of Karen McCarthy, who is suing Lucasfilm over her forced departure from the Acolyte, and yes, I've communicated with her attorney many times, and we posted photos of myself with them, and yet there's still people that believe I made it up. But nonetheless, I actually spoke with this gentleman today, and he gave me. I haven't even posted on my Patreon, so we're getting a little bit of a scoop here, which will relate to this, right? So apparently, her attorney, Robert Edward Allen, and I spoke earlier today, and he was just asking if I heard anything from my contacts, and I shared with him whatever I knew, and from my contacts with Lucasfilm, and then he shared with me that apparently I don't know if it's already been filed, but they're planning to do what Gina did, which is they're filing a motion to compel in their case. They're filing a motion to compel because Disney is trying to not get some of its Discovery out, and they're trying to force them. Gina had to do the same thing, and she won. Right? And so it's the same playbook, and apparently they're going to have to do the same thing. But what we know, because Gina has been so far holding her cards close to her chest, we don't know what they found in Discovery so far. We don't know. She's put out some interesting, fun memes that are like she knows something that we don't know. I'm sure she does. But what we do know, because I reported about it on my Patreon, and can be confirmed through a public search of legal records, is that McCarthy's attorneys a few months ago upgraded, amended their lawsuit to actually go to fraud. That they found enough stuff in discovery that it wasn't. Yeah, and so we talked about it on my Patreon. I think we talked about it here a few weeks ago. But yeah, so they've upgraded their claim based on discovery to not just a contractual dispute of, you violated my contract, you owe me money. It's like you lied about the contract. Like I've been saying on my Patreon, that they didn't have a green light for the show. They found evidence of that, enough for them to amend their complaint. So if that's what Karen McCarthy's attorney found through discovery on a much lower profile thing of what enough for them to call fraud, imagine what Gina Carano's people have found. Just imagine. Wow. And that might explain why they brought on this high-level constitutional scholar, because they probably found things that go, this is big. This is bigger than we imagined, and we need someone who understands what the Supreme Court has ruled on what is acceptable free speech in business environments. So somebody who has a mastery of that, it's probably coming right out of discovery. So to go back to your question, this is really stupid for them to allow these things to continue. And the theory that several of the people on my Patreon have, which I think is probably right, is that Bob Iger is probably using both the McCarthy and the Carano case, as swords against Kennedy to make her leave. Because it's like, if he settles it out, they don't have leverage on her, or beyond whatever other leverage they have. But this is pretty big leverage. Look, if we want you to go, unless you want us to reveal all of your secret information that's embarrassing. That's real leverage on her. So I think they're letting this drag out to allow Discovery to keep building more and more embarrassment behind the scenes, that her lawyers be like, Disney lawyers like, hey, Ms. Kennedy, I don't know if you're familiar, they found this, we had to hand over this email. It doesn't make you look good. That's adding pressure on her to maybe get out. That, I think, is probably what's happening here, because it doesn't make business sense otherwise.
Wow.
Talk to me about any ramifications, if any, this could have on Star Wars moving forward, especially after kind of like the goodwill of Andor being now a rating success, and people are rewatching it. Rogue One charted. Yeah. It hasn't charted in years, and then there's not another live action for another year, which I think is a good thing. There's no oversaturation and bad content as there has been for Star Wars. How can this ruin that?
Wait, how can this ruin that?
How can this,
yeah. Oh, okay, yes. I mean, if the case
going
proceed,
forward.
If it proceeded, so I understand.
Right, if it proceeds, and then because it's another year before we see the Mandalorian. If this proceeds, we're gonna some stuff's gonna come out between now and then.
Very likely, and as of now, the case has, Gina did say to her distress, the case was moved the judge moved because Disney's been stalling and wasting time. Judge was forced to move the trial from, I believe, August, September, fall of this year to, my understanding is, February of next year. But that's even worse for Disney, because if this thing were stupidly to go to trial and Kathleen Kennedy was put on the stand, right, and news leaks of what was said on the stand get out, right, and evidence is presented that's embarrassing, emails are shown to her, what she said, people testified she did this, that's the even worse timing for Disney, because Mandalorian said it's coming out in May of next year, right? So if this is February, March, April, if this is going on then, that's the news all we're gonna hear is horrifying, embarrassing news weeks before the premiere of this should be successful Mandalorian movie. So it would be a disaster for this to continue. But the benefit is, because it's been pushed to February, they do have enough time, I think, to settle this out. I don't know if they have any time left to maybe bring in Gina for a couple of reshoots. They might, but they have enough time now to pressure her to get out. And as we already had the Hollywood Reporter and Puck saying she's out this year, right? And and now more and more, even some of her supporters, like Jeff Schneider or whatever, are saying that she's out in August. We'll see if that's true, right? And so it feels like if this were to go forward, this would be an utter disaster for the PR. And she's, as you've indicated, Paulie, she's got a victory here. Or even though some people didn't like it, I'm sure some people in the chat didn't like it. I liked it. I thought after the first 3 episodes, it became a superb show. I liked it. And I think for her to leave, this is the victory she wanted, so she can leave with some dignity and say, look, I made a hit show that the fans liked. I hate the fans, but at least they like this show, and I can leave with my head held somewhat high, right? If she had left after the Acolyte, which I think many people would have preferred, she would have left with humiliation, which would have made her more vengeful, right, and more problematic. I think she should just take this win as a gift from God. You can leave with your dignity and go. Whether she, with her egos and pathologies, can do that, I don't know.